Motorcycling is ridiculous. Motorcycling is stupid. Motorcycling is also some of the most fun you can have legally. And if you're planning to get into it, I think you're already doing life at least half right, at least in my eyes. And I have 5 pointers that I wish I would have been told about when I was starting out. If you feel like you align with my style, please do consider subscribing and liking. As I get better at this YouTube thing, I'm sure I'll have much more to say. So, let's start with numero uno. My number one tip for newcomers to motorcycling is the more proficient you are, the safer you are. With motorcycling, safety and proficiency are directly proportional to each other. The more proficient you become, the safer you are. Now, a lot of people like to attribute safety to the gear you wear, and that certainly can help, but I would look at gear as your last line of defense. That essentially means if you invest seriously into your motorcycle proficiency, your likelihood of being involved in a fatal or a serious accident is much lower. A lot of countries have mandatory motorcycle courses and tests. A lot of them have optional courses that you can pick to learn more about motorcycling. But even if your country doesn't have something like that, there are track schools, there are riding schools, there is a litany of information available on the internet and lots of books written about motorcycle proficiency that you can get started with. The number two tip I have for you is that a lot of motorcyclists in general are not completely new to vehicles. Of course, a lot of them are super young, 16, 17, and they just get their first two-wheeler license. But a lot of them have prior experience with cars, either automatic or manuals. The biggest difference between a bike and a car is that a bike is always going to be a much more involved experience. It is going to take up 100% of your attention. It is going to take 100% of your reflexes, your skill, your presence. It's just something entirely all-consuming in the moment, and it is not necessarily the same for cars. Who you are as a rider makes a much bigger difference on a motorcycle. That includes your skill level, your mood, your presence, your reflexes. Everything is exaggerated, everything is heightened. So one thing I would like all people coming from cars to understand is that you may be able to disconnect a little bit in a car and still drive it and still be all right. That will not work on a motorcycle. A motorcycle is a mutually exclusive activity. That means when you're on a motorcycle, that's all you're doing. You cannot do anything else. It is essential that you sort of empty out your brain from the car experience and open up your brain to now understanding what the motorcycle experience feels like, because it is completely worlds apart. Coming on to number three, this one is quite controversial and a lot of people don't agree with me, but I think this is the best way to go on about it, especially if you're newer. Gear and motorcycling, they go hand in hand together. If you have a good set, it can really elevate the experience, right? Okay, you've heard of ATGAT, right? ATGAT is all the gear all the time. I have a slight modification to that. I say CGAT, which is comfortable gear all the time. Gear, no matter how safe it is, it might be AAA rated, right? It might be the highest sort of rating for gear. No matter how safe it is, if you don't enjoy the motorcycle while you're wearing it, if you're not going to wear that piece of gear, it is not protecting you, right? So essentially what I am saying is, buy the safest gear that you can afford that is still comfortable for you to wear on a daily basis. That does not interrupt your riding experience. That does not interrupt your feeling of comfort and well-being on a motorcycle. Because at the very least, even if a piece of gear is not necessarily the safest, at least you'll wear it every day. At least you'll wear it out all the time. At least it'll be part of your habit, which adds to your safety factor that much more. Number four, it's quite a simple one, but I think it's one that we all overlook in many ways. It's the more you learn about motorcycling, the more enjoyable and the more vibrant it becomes. And this has many layers, right? This has a technical, practical layer where the more you learn about the mechanics, the techniques of your motorcycle, the more you'll enjoy going out for rides, the more you'll enjoy going out for longer rides, the more you invest in learning experiences like track days, hitting the dirt maybe, right? Going racing, the more enjoyable your time is going to become with your motorcycle. The other side to this is the theoretical side, right? The more you sort of immerse yourself into motorcycle culture, motorcycle history, learn about the greats from motorcycling, I feel like there is a sweet spot where the more you learn about it, the more detailed and vibrant and colorful and enjoyable your experience with motorcycles becomes. So the final point number 5, is I think the most important one, and it's a bit of a serious one. So motorcycling is not something that we have forever, right? We're able to ride once we achieve a certain age, at 16, 17, 18, whatever. We're able to get a license and we're able to start being on 2 wheels and enjoying the whole thing. That might not last for the rest of our lives. You know, it might be cut short by an accident, a disability, a disease, a sickness. It's something that is limited by time, as all of life is. And it is also something that is limited by money. It is an expensive hobby. And if you really want to make the most of it and you really want to enjoy it, it requires a fairly decent bit of money, from bikes to track days to gear, helmets, modifications, accessories, and things of that sort. The most important thing that you can do within motorcycling, if you want to enjoy that lifestyle completely, is to value your time much more than you value your money. Because the graph of how much money you have is going to taper up in the long term as you get older, right? But the graph of how much riding ability you have is going to taper down as you get older. Your reflexes are going to be slower. Your ability to deal with traffic, your ability to react quickly to the motorcycle is going to taper off. So it's not for everybody. Motorcycling is not for everybody. It is a very acquired taste. But if you decide to sort of commit yourself into it, do not worry about spending too much. The money will probably come back and you might even have more of it. But your ability to enjoy that money within the realm of motorcycling might not necessarily be the same again. Money is something that we use to expand the horizons of our lives and really open up possibilities within our lives. And it's important to realize that the circulation of money is a constant and ongoing process, right? But the circulation of life is not. Once we die, that's it. We're not going to experience our lives again. So it's very important that you value your time much, much more than your money, because only one of those things is going to come back. I really hope that was useful, educational, and hopefully a little bit of entertaining for you to watch. Please, 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 please generously utilize the comment section, because for me, there is no point to making these things unless I am able to interact with the motorcycle community, or people interested in motorcycles in general, or people who just want to start a dialogue related to this. Please do leave your thoughts, leave any arguments, counter arguments you may have, and I'd love to keep this conversation going in the comment section. Thank you so much, and please consider subscribing if you like this style of videos. And please don't shy away from leaving me feedback or any ideas on what to talk about next.